Deafness and hearing loss affects over 48 million people worldwide, remarked by the Center for Hearing and Communication, published in 2016. Most of us think of deafness as a terrible thing, or we look at deaf people differently because of a chronic condition they can't help. Many of us might feel uncomfortable or nervous around someone deaf, but they're just like us. They just have a different form of communication. Today, I will be talking about how deafness is caused, the different types of deafness, and the number one way deaf people communicate. First off, there are over 25 different causes of deafness that we know of, remarked by the World Health Organization in 2018. Let's begin with one of the most common causes: loud noises. Long or repeated exposure to sounds at or above 85 decibels can cause hearing loss, stated by the Medical News Today. Noise-induced hearing loss, or NIHL, can also be caused by gunshots or explosions, which can rupture the eardrum or damage the bones in the middle ear. Also, according to Health and Human Services, published in June 30th, 2011, deafness can be inherited through generations. Deaf Children Worldwide, published in 2018, presents that hearing loss is considered a recessive genetic disorder because the mutations only cause deafness in individuals who inherit 2 copies of a mutated gene, one from each parent. Or an undesirable gene may have also been inherited from one parent without any way of passing it down. That's just rotten luck. In addition, Deaf Children Worldwide declares people can also become deaf from a disease or mutation. For example, mumps is a viral infection most commonly found in children, shared with us by Medical News Today, published by Christian Nordquist in 2018. This disease causes the salivary glands to become inflamed, slowly leading to hearing loss. Healthy Hearing, contributed by Debbie Klassen in June of 2016, states that the cochlea, located in the inner ear, is being badly damaged by mumps. Other diseases that include deafness include shingles, meningitis, and diabetes. Next, we will talk about the different types of deafness. According to the Deafness Foundation, created in 2016, there are 4 different types of deafness. Conductive. This is a minor cause. It is usually caused by a buildup of wax or fluid in the ear, and it can be easily fixed by cleaning your ears or going to the doctor. Sensorial. This occurs when there is damage or malfunction to the hair cells. It is the most common type of permanent hearing loss. Everybody loses these tiny hair cells in the cochlea throughout life, while the hearing slowly becomes less accurate. Another is mixed, or severe. This is a mix of both the types mentioned previously. It is a buildup and the hair cells are being badly damaged. And finally, auditory neuropathy, or complete deafness. People who have this kind of hearing loss can't talk or hear. Sounds are not permitted to the brain properly, and the results are permanent. Which brings me to my next main point: communication. The American Sign Language Association, created in 2016, has found that the most common form of communication used by deaf people is sign language. It uses visual gestures and signs in a form of communicating. They use things like please, or thank you, and many others. American Sign Language, or ASL, is a language completely separate from English. ASL is amazingly unique and different from every other language in the world, confirmed by Languages Unlimited, published in 2016. It was created and developed by deaf people, and obviously it's used in its purest form by people who are deaf, stated by the American Sign Language Association. Of course, learning ASL can be difficult, especially if you're a child born deaf with hearing parents. 9 out of 10 children who are born deaf are born to parents that hear, presented by the American Society of Deaf Children. According to the National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, NIDCD, learning to sign takes practice and takes a long time to learn. Imagine having a sudden disease and now your hearing is gone. Not surprisingly, there are over 70 million people in the world who use sign language to communicate, mentions the Languages Unlimited source. Lastly, signing is very technical. If you change the direction of your palm or the shape of your fingers, that changes the whole meaning of the sign, mentioned by the American Sign Language Association in 2017. Similarly, the language also varies from country to country. No one form of sign language is universal. Remarked Languages Unlimited in 2017. If you think about it, different places around the world speak different languages, so why wouldn't they speak sign language differently too? Going from one language to another in a matter of what could be days seems almost impossible. Kids trying to learn ASL, on the other hand, is a different story. The National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, published in 2016, states that a deaf child born to parents who hear, or born to parents that are deaf and use ASL will acquire ASL as naturally as a hearing child picks up spoken language from hearing parents. So in other words, deaf children pick up speaking sign language just like all of us learn to talk. Today, we talked about the causes and different kinds of hearing loss. We also talked about the #1 way the hearing impaired can communicate. These 48 million people around the world struggle every day to communicate, but that's their way of life. They find a way to get through the day by day, just like the rest of us.